There's a certain thrill in starting a new kind of self-help system, a fresh planner or a new productivity book or a beautifully color-coded calendar or motion dashboard. For a moment, it feels like this time, this is what I've been missing. This is the thing that I need to finally get productive. But days or weeks later, you're back in the same spot you are now, ashamed, overwhelmed, lost, avoidant. And it's not because you're not trying. It's because most self-help advice and all of these new shiny objects that we cling to are built on the assumption that our resistance is logical, and it's not. If you've ever said, I've read the books, I've watched all the motivational videos, I know what to do, so what's the problem? And then you still find yourself stuck and procrastinating, avoidant, doing the opposite of the thing you want to be doing right now, then you already know this truth deep down. Self-help doesn't work when your inner world, your inner ecosystem is fighting against you. I want to walk you through why none of these things are the solution and why they haven't helped you up until this point, and what will. Not another hack, not another shiny object, but a shift in the way you relate to yourself. Let's get into it. So let's start with the big myth. Most people believe that procrastination is a habit problem, and it can be, for some, something to be fixed with better planning, stronger discipline, or a more dialed-in system. But if that's the case, then that kind of stuckness has to be rational. You have total control over the situation, you have total control over being able to perform differently, but you're choosing not to. That's when it bleeds into laziness territory. But that's not what's going on for you, because if your resistance were rational, you would have outsmarted it by now because you do care. You want to be different. That's how we know it's not laziness. This is deductive reasoning. What I see over and over again, what I first saw in myself and then in my clients, is that procrastination isn't about not knowing what to do. It's about being emotionally blocked from doing it. So what happens? Self-help and the industry around self-help becomes another stick to beat yourself with. It sounds harsh, but that's what you're doing. You're not just behind. Now you're behind and wasting this advice that you've worked so hard to apply. You're not just behind. It's this thing that's worked for everyone else, but it won't work for you, which means that you're the problem. And that pressure is going to equate to more resistance. You're trying to self-improve your way out of shame, even if you don't realize it, using tools that don't address shame at all. They probably don't even realize that shame's what's really going on underneath it. And here's how this pattern shows up. You consume advice from someone who has it all together. You apply it for a few days, maybe a week. It works until it doesn't. And that moment that you hit a dip where real life shows up with low energy or some kind of extracurricular activity that's different from the normal pattern, it crumbles. And now it's not just a failure, it's your failure. But here's the truth about that. That dip, that crash isn't failure. It's a sign that that system didn't support you emotionally. It only supported you logically, cognitively, under perfect circumstances. Your procrastination isn't a lack of tactics. It's a nervous system in threat mode. And when you're in threat mode, when shame and fear and that kind of scarcity mindset is in the driver's seat, your brain is going to deprioritize the executive functions that make change possible. And when I say executive functions, I mean the ability to plan and execute and like time management. Those don't become the priority when you feel like you're in danger, which is this cycle you've created for yourself. So if your body is interpreting do the thing as prove that you're worthy, you're gonna shut down, which results in not doing the thing, which, you guessed it, keeps the cycle spinning. And no amount of just take the first step advice can override that, not by itself. If that makes sense for you, then I want to share something that I made for you. It's a short, clear guide why executive dysfunction leads to this kind of procrastination and how to begin shifting it at the root. No shame, no hustle, just a compassionate lens on what's happening internally and why. You can download it below free of charge. I really think it'll help you see these patterns in a new light. So let's get practical here. There are 3 sneaky ways why this kind of self-help advice keeps you stuck, even though its intention is to help you. It frames stuckness as a failure of willpower. You start thinking, I just need to try harder. But that logic ignores your context. Again, we're acting in a vacuum of perfect conditions only. It ignores your trauma, your capacity, your neurodivergence if you're neurodivergent, your lived reality. Self-help says just wake up earlier. It'll make your day so much easier. But your body says, well, I didn't sleep because I was anxious all night, or I actually need 9 hours of sleep versus the recommended 7 or 8. Self-help says batch your tasks. Your brain says, I'm already overwhelmed by the first one. I don't trust myself to unload the dishwasher. How am I supposed to batch cleaning cleaning the kitchen. It's not that the tools are bad, but they just assume consistency without safety. Second is that it treats all resistance as laziness. It's very binary, and it dismisses emotional barriers as excuses. You're gonna see a lot of that on social media with all those viral videos of motivation and just lock in and just get it done, like you are the reason you're standing in your own way. And you are, but you can't help it. Because what if that resistance is actually wisdom? What if it's because your body is pausing because the environment doesn't feel safe, or the task feels loaded with self-worth baggage? Trying to bulldoze through that is not helpful. It deepens the shutdown. But that's the good news, because when you can actually realize what that wisdom is trying to communicate with you, that's data. That's information you can use to rectify the situation. That's information you can use to determine what your next step forward is, not what self-help advice says the next step forward should be. And third, it offers structure without support. A system alone can't regulate your nervous system. You can't notion your way out of shame. What's missing in all of this self-help advice is the human piece. It's missing the ability to address how you're doing internally and your preconceived notions about your aptitude in the first place. Who do you become when you don't meet your goals? How do you speak to yourself when you're behind? What story do you carry about your worth and effort? How are you going to react when you inevitably fall short? Until those questions are addressed, you're going to keep repeating the same patterns and downloading new planners hoping this one is the answer. If you've tried it all and you're still stuck, this is what I want you to do. Start with emotional safety, not strategy. Ask yourself, what would make this a little safer right now? Instead of, how do I push through? Ask, how can I create an environment I want to enter? That might mean turning on gentle music, removing the pressure to finish, changing the prioritization of the output and instead prioritizing starting, and giving yourself permission to start badly too. Changing from if it's worth doing well, to if it's worth doing poorly. And use self-leadership instead of self-punishment. I know it's easier said than done, but it starts with awareness. Replace I have to get it together with what does my next small step look like? And I mean small. I'm talking opening a tab, putting away one dish, tidying one corner of your room, stretching for 30 seconds. Every time you start from gentleness, you rewire your brain to associate acting with safety instead of shame. You start rebuilding that trust muscle that's been so weakened for so long. And lastly, and you have to do this, detach your identity from execution. You may not even realize it, but I can guarantee that you've done this because I did it too. If I didn't do the task equals I'm a failure, then every to-do list from now to infinity is emotionally dangerous. But if I didn't do the task means, oh, I needed more support in this way, then you stay in motion. You're taking it in as neutral data, neutral information to help you refine and get better. And you stay in relationship with your goals instead of shutting down even imperfectly, because imperfectly is still more than none. It's more than you've been doing. You don't need another piece of advice. Yes, I know you're watching this video, but you don't need another planner. How about let's say that? You need space, safety, support that doesn't treat you like a project, support that doesn't enable this idea that one day I can be Superwoman, one day I can be Superman, I can be the perfect version of myself if I just get my shit together. Because that's not realistic. Not because you can't achieve your goals, but because you're pursuing them from the wrong place. You're pursuing it from a scarcity mindset. You're pursuing it because if you don't get there, you're worthless, as you are today. And that support is exactly what I offer inside of my program. It's not just what I offer, but it's what the webinars offer, the curriculum, the community of people who know exactly what you're going through. If you're craving structure that feels human and systems that work with your emotional situation, not against it, then I'd love to talk with you. Apply for a free discovery call below. We'll unpack what's really keeping you stuck and whether this kind of support is what you need. It's a no pressure space, just a real conversation to analyze where you are and if my program is what you need. Whenever you're ready, I'm here. And as always, stay in this corner of the internet as long as you need.